Welcome to Southside News Today. It's Sunday, March 7th. I'm Chuck Vipperman reporting. Southside News Today is brought to you by Guns, Gear, and Ammo, Route 58 Cascade, and by Redeemed Christian Dance Studios, Crankhead Street. The local COVID-19 death toll ticked up over the weekend, but there are some very encouraging signs on the horizon. A Pennsylvania County woman in her 60s became the 182nd local victim. Their death, one of 77 reported in Virginia in this morning's dashboard report from the State Department of Health. Now, the 7-day rolling average of new cases for Danville and Pennsylvania County is now down to 13, the lowest level since September. Last 24 hours, only 2 new cases have been identified in Pennsylvania County. Total local cases are now over 9,000. Now, the most encouraging news is the local positive test rate. 2 weeks ago, it was nearly 15%. Just last week, it was still double digits. As of today, it's down to 7.9%, its lowest level since October. The state positive rate is now 6.2%. Pennsylvania County's fire marshal investigating a weekend blaze at a mobile home on Hunters Lane in Blair's broke out early Friday at the Chestnut Level Mobile Home Park. Crews stormed inside to make sure no one was in there. It was unoccupied. The fire was brought under control in about 12 minutes, contained to the rear bedroom. The mobile home, though, was listed as a total loss. Blair sent 16 volunteers, 2 engines, and a tanker. Got assistance from Keeling, Ringgold, Kentuck, and Mount Herman. One person hurt in a Friday afternoon fire at Heritage Towers Apartments on South Ridge Street. One victim taken to Sova Health Danville with unspecified injuries. 4 engines, 2 ladder trucks, and the fire marshal. About 30 crews answered that call. The fire was in a second-floor unit, was quickly doused. Now, some of the displaced residents were taken by city transit buses across the road to Galileo. They returned hours later. Still no word on exactly what sparked the fire. Danville police have arrested a second suspect in a February 3rd shooting death. 19-year-old Avion Burton was arrested this weekend on an outstanding warrant for second-degree murder. Investigators tracked him to a Danville home and arrested Burton without incident, now being held without bond in the Danville City Jail. Burton is the second suspect charged in the death of Jalen Fitzgerald. 20-year-old Earlquan Williams is also being held on second-degree murder counts. Shooting happened in the 600 block of Cabell Street. Fitzgerald was pronounced dead at the scene. Police are checking to see if there is a third suspect. The Danville School Board has approved 5 administrative appointments for the city school system. Takiwi Milton Babalola is now the Chief Academic Officer. She comes from Richmond County School System in Augusta, Georgia, where she was also a math professor at Payne College. Wayne Lyle has already begun his role as the new Chief Operations Officer for Danville Public Schools. Lyle was an instructional supervisor in Amherst County, former principal in the Bedford County system. Tia Hairston's been promoted to Director of Exceptional Children. She served in a number of roles in the Danville school system for 9 years, most recently as Coordinator of Services for Exceptional Children. Walter Lucas is the new Director of Maintenance and Operations for Danville Public Schools. He has over 45 years' experience in construction, contracting, maintenance, and building code enforcement. He was most recently a building inspector and project manager for the city of Danville. And longtime school employee Jay Lancaster is the new licensure specialist with Danville Public Schools. Lancaster has been in the city school system 16 years, most recently as principal at Galileo and at GW High School. A recent audit at the primary hub that handles mail for Danville and Pennsylvania County discovered tens of thousands of botched deliveries between May and September of last year. The internal probe found that workers under Greensboro District Manager Russell Gardner routinely marked packages as delivered when they were sitting at the station untouched. Auditors recorded over 41,000 botched deliveries in a 5-month span last summer. Also, nearly 5,000 packages scanned at the unit that had invalid route or employee information. Workers are getting more training to counteract what officials call many months of mismanaged package scanning. Our local congressman says a measure that passed this weekend in the House was, quote, Washington at its worst. Bob Good says the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020 would backhandedly defund police.
This bill advances the far-left Democrat platform and would defund the police through unfunded mandates that cost state and local departments millions of dollars. If this weren't bad enough, the bill advances an anti-police agenda with Washington Knows Best regulations and puts a target on the backs of everyday officers by creating a national database of complaints that have not been adjudicated.
Now, supporters say the measure offers millions in grant money to departments while holding police more accountable. Measure cleared the House. It now goes to the Senate. In sports, GW Eagles opened their home football season Friday with quite a show. The Eagles scored on all of their first-half possessions en route to a 41-0 drubbing of Patrick County. Eagles wasted no time scoring on their second play from scrimmage. Jeb gets the snap, throws it right-hand side. It's going to be complete. Short game becomes a big game. First down and more. GW streaks up the field. This is going to be a long touchdown. Tavion King with a touchdown for GW. The Z-Man gets her done. 1 minute into the game, and GW has scored.
And guess what? GW football's back, just like that.
Oh, buddy. Later, they got their second touchdown in as many weeks from a talented senior. Jeb, quick pass. Isaiah Pritchett has it 50-yard line, 45-40. He breaks a tackle. He breaks two tackles for the second week in a row. Little Isaiah makes a big score, 53 yards, and the Eagles are up 20-0. Also, Willie Edmonds marked his return home in style, piling up 154 yards on 8 carries, including 3 touchdowns. The GW Eagles, now 1-1, will travel to Halifax County this Friday. Speaking of Halifax County sports, South Boston native Jeremy Jeffries was released suddenly this afternoon by the Washington Nationals for what General Manager Mike Rizzo called unspecified personal reasons. It came less than 2 weeks after Jeffries agreed to a minor league deal. The 33-year-old Jeffries was taken by Milwaukee in the first round of the 06 draft, has pitched for 5 teams over 11 years, was an all-star 3 years ago with the Brewers. Last year, Jeffries went 4-1 with 8 saves and 10 chances for the Chicago Cubs. Well, let's start this week off on the positive side. With tonight's Live Positive, here's Dr. Joey Fawcett.
I'm Dr. Joey Fawcett, coaching you to live positive. How well do you see in the dark? My wife was out of town, and therefore I was feeding our horses one extremely dark night. It was cloudy, and there was absolutely no starlight. And the group of horses, this particular group, is fed outside, not in the barn, and they're fed in black pails on the ground. So you got the picture. Sometimes they play with their pails and they roll them around the pasture. So here I am looking for black pails on the ground on an extremely black night. And I thought to myself, instead of stumbling around the pasture with these horses jostling me and chasing me for their feed, why don't I let the horses show me where the pails are? So I stepped into the pasture. I said, go on, as I've heard my wife say so many times. And I watched as those horses then went and stood over their pails around the pasture. I simply walked up to each one, and rather than crushing my toes, I discovered that there was a black pail on the ground in front of them. So I just poured in the feed and I moved on to the next one. You see, those horses could see the pails, and I let the horses guide me. Do you ever find yourself stumbling around in the darkness of your life or something? Instead of just living life, make a life worth living with those people who are sent to you to help you stop stumbling. Ask for help. And then feed those around you as you live positive and make a life worth living today. Coaching you to live positive, I'm Dr. Joey Fawcett.
Thanks, Dr. Joey. You forecast another clear, chilly night in store. Lows down to 26. Tomorrow's going to be sunny and fairly mild. Highs up to near 60. And that's a look at Southside News Today. I'm Chuck Vipperman. It's been brought to you by Guns, Gear, and Ammo and Redeemed Christian Dance Studios. Again, I'm Chuck Vipperman. Have a great day.